for this practice, now we've done a lot of sort of mindfulness of emotions, but this one is about noticing our thoughts, because it's quite good to do an inquiry as if you are a scientist, and to observe and see if you can see any unhelpful patterns that you can look at. Because mindfulness is the dedication to the observation of seeing clearly our consciousness in the present moment, which removes us from thinking about the past, which we associate with depression, because it's like, oh, and all these negative thoughts and feelings such as guilt and shame and things like that. And the future, which is anxiety, worrying about what things might happen. And like we said, we're always attracted to negativity. And we're always attracted to negative things and catastrophizing. So we may catastrophize more about, say, for example, COVID, or be constantly negative, or constantly looking for negative news around that, which is usually quite unhelpful for oneself. I switch off the news purposefully for that reason, because it's not going to do me any good, is it? Whatever goes on outside in the world, I have no control over, but I have control over my emotions, and that's the important thing. Because when we dedicate ourselves to that observation of repetitive patterns, and we get a deeper understanding of ourselves and how our thoughts relate to our actions. And really, we can control our actions and what we say and how we react, and that's the important thing. So looking for the patterns is quite important. So shall we do this practice where you're like Sigourney Weaver in Gorillas in the Mist, and you're doing an anthropological study. You're just observing, really, but you're not getting caught up. The problem is we get caught up in grabbing a narrative, and then we follow that line of thought, don't we? It's like when you wake up in the middle of the night. And then all of a sudden, that line of thought, and before you know it, there's a story in the narrative going through your head for 20 minutes about one thing. And what we're trying to do is we're trying not to reel in that narrative and then start following it. We're trying to distance ourselves from it. The nice metaphor of sort of imagine yourself that you sat by a stream, and your thoughts so there's a stream, and you're sat by the stream, and your thoughts are the leaves, and you're just watching them come into your awareness and go out of your awareness. But you're not going, look, that's that one leaf. And then you start to describe the leaf, and then you start thinking about leaves, and then they start thinking about trees, and then it just goes, and then it comes into a narrative. And then before you know, you're sinking down the rabbit hole. Okay. And then you turn into Greta Thunberg, and it's the end of the world. And then that's it. And then you're catastrophizing. We do catastrophize. It's completely natural, but whatever you think, you become. And that's the whole thing about being able to look at how your thoughts relate to your actions. Because if you're going to think positive thoughts, then I'm not into sort of this kind of idea that, being constantly positive, that you are attracting abundance. Because I am on LinkedIn, and I'll be really honest, the amount of people now want to connect with me and tell me that I am not attracting abundance as I have my own business is unbelievable. And they're all talking to me about unblocking my you want to attract abundance, it's a positive mindset, and I really don't like that, and it's quite American, really. You got to believe in it. You can't be spiritual and make money at the same time. And really, at the end of the day, I'm not really into making money at all. It's not my dharma. My dharma is a little bit Mine's low key. Okay. I'm not the sweaty Betty of yoga and Lululemon. I'm not. I do it because I love it. And I get by. And that's all I want to do. But they're all telling me that I can make $6 million. I can make six-figure sums. And I haven't. They're saying that I've got a negative abundance mentality. But that's not what it's about. So let's make a start. I'll ding you in and ding you out. And there'll be lots of spaces this time as we go through the practice and really develop it. So always remember what's happening. When you're aware that you're following a line of thought, thought labeling works. So just go thinking, bring yourself back to your breath, bring yourself back to your seat. Remember, we've talked a lot about our resourcing tools. If anything negative crops up, it's the breath, it's the grounding, isn't it? It's the centering, it's the pendulation. So always remind yourself, and I put that post up on our group. Okay, so a lot of ringers in and no ringers out. Okay, Friday night delights. So, dropping down and settling into our seat. Spine long. Stable like a mountain, but relaxed jaw, shoulders. Finding into our seat, finding the weight of our body against the floor. And we're just going to bring in the practice by observing the breath for a few minutes, just until we feel calm and clear. So just observing the rise and fall of the abdomen, or perhaps the chest, or maybe even where the air comes in and out through the nostrils. And if your mind wanders, just gently and kindly, just bring you back to the focus. And when you feel settled and calm and relaxed, just begin to observe your thoughts as they appear and disappear. We're not trying to catch, follow, or get carried away by one thought. We're just going to notice with curious, non-judgmental attention, like an anthropologist or a scientist, the distance between you and the thought. Almost as if all these different thoughts are floating down the river like leaves. And just see what bubbles up. Just notice. You can maybe label whatever that thought is, whatever the content is, and then move on to the next one that pops up. And if your mind wanders, just simply come back. Use the breath as a centering, grounding focus. And we're not getting carried away with one thought, we're observing thoughts at a distance. And after a few moments or minutes, when you feel ready, just notice if there is a sudden repetition or connection or emotional tone to these thoughts. Are they always on the same certain subjects, people, events, reliving the past, thinking about the future? Just notice. Try not to judge. Just accept what bubbles up. In the way that your thoughts are grouped in a certain way. And as you notice your thoughts, more conscious, aware of your thoughts, see if there's any unhelpful past patterns that are cropping up. See if you can compassionately, non-judgmentally, kindly breathe into any negativity, if there is any, so that you use that anchor of the breath to get you into the present moment attention, so there is less for you to worry about. The breath is always your anchor to get you into the present moment attention. Breathing into those thoughts. And finally, before I close this practice, where are the thoughts coming from? Are they yours? Where do your thoughts go? Are they your own narrative or somebody else's? You don't need to answer this question right here, right now. It's something to consider every time you come back to this practice, to reflect on afterwards. Instead, you can dedicate a sense of appreciation for your efforts that you've made today. Okay, so short practice there, but a useful one, because as I've said, reflecting back on that, I always try to reflect on back on that. It's a good way to understand yourself and how your thoughts relate to your actions. So if you find a pattern in them, and as you come back to this practice, keep noticing is there a specific pattern between the practices, and so what does it tell you about yourself? How does it deepen your understanding of yourself, and how you can work compassionately and positively what you think you become. Namaste.